Hello everybody, welcome back to Rain and Pours. I'm Mitch and it's been a little while. So I'm back in my studio today. I have just rearranged all of my piggies on my shelf and I am going to pour some coasters for my lovely work colleagues. So I've got their favourite colour combinations and I'm going to pour some coasters for them to be ready before Christmas. Now that's a big ask considering Christmas is just in 2 weeks, but I'm going to try. And I'm doing Dutch pour style coasters today so that they dry really quickly and I can get them coated in resin much faster than I can with a Sheleeart Bloom. So I'm just preparing a waste cup. This is so I can scrape all the extra paint off here. And I've got my tiles taped up with my blue painter's tape. And all of my colours are ready to go. So I'm using my Liquitex Gloss Medium and Australian Floetrol mixture for these, and I've got some colours mixed up ready to go. So the first lot of colours I'll be pouring are for my colleague, and she has opted for teals. Her favourite colour is teal. So I have Matisse Payne's Grey, This Little Piggy Psych, which is the neon turquoise, and Billabong, which is a lovely deep teal colour. Then I have This Little Piggy Grenache and Simplicity, and I'm going to be doing that over a black base. And then for my manager, she is getting white and nude. I like saying nude. So she's getting Ballet Slipper and Latte, both from TLP. So we're going to use like I said, my Dutch pour base. So I have some white mixed up here and there's a little bit left in here. Now I don't know how thick these are. These have been sitting for, oh gosh, 8 months or so. Because these were last used during my paint pouring classes. And I don't know if they're still good because I've just discovered this lid has a crack in it. So I may just have to ditch a little bit that's left in this bottle, which I can live with, and I have some in this bottle right here. So my Dutch pour mixture is 3 parts Liquitex Gloss Medium to 1 part Australian Floetrol, and then I mix that. So I mix that 2,400 mils of the Dutch, so that was 2.4 litres, and then it was 3,200, so 3.2 litres mixed with the white. So it was 3:1 pouring medium to paint. That's a lot to get out. And I've just poured them into this old Floetrol bottle, which apparently is now not opening, which is going to cause issues. Okay, so I've got that part off. Oh, look at that, you can, so if it's child safe, you can just pop the child safe part off and it will just open. Awesome! Okay, well that can go in the bin because I don't need that anymore. I'll just use this part of the lid. Great. So like I said, these haven't been used for a little while, so we're going to see how they work. Now for the paints that I've mixed up, I haven't added any Floetrol to those. It's just Liquitex Gloss Medium and Paint or Piggy, and a little bit of water. Actually, no, I did use the Dutch pouring medium. No, that's fine. I have done that. No, don't mind me. Okay, so I'm going to put down my base coat first, and we want this nice and thin. And the only reason I'm using my spinner is so that I can get a nice even coat on these. And I do find with my Dutch pour coasters that I need to coat the sides better. And I will need to check them for coverage at the end, because I don't always manage to reach the sides with it. Now, this paint is very bubbly because I did give it a good shake. And the key with Dutch pours is to not have much paint left on to begin with. So I'm just going to evenly distribute, and actually, now that I think about it, I normally do this with my Dutch pours to get everything distributed. Because you really just want a really thin layer, and then I go around with my spatula. Aha. It's been so long since I've painted that I've forgotten what to do. Okay, That's fine. Now we're going to blowtorch to get rid of the bubbles. And with the Liquitex gloss medium, you do have to be really careful because it will scorch quite quickly. So let's go straight on with my colours for Azita. And we're going on with the Payne's Grey. Then with a little bit of Psych. And a little bit of Billabong. And you really don't need much paint because then you're going to blow this out. And don't that look pretty? So multiple ways you can blow this out. You could use your mouth, you could use a little blower. When I'm doing Dutch pours like this, I just use my mouth most of the time, to be fair, because it's much quicker than getting the blower out. And straight up, you've got a really pretty design that you don't need to do much to, don't need to alter. It looks fantastic. The only thing you might want to do is pop some bubbles, and if you want some cells, you can go in and torch nice and close to break up some of that paint on top and give you some of those cells. And I think that looks fantastic. So this one is ready to go, and I've got to make sure I don't touch the sides. Okay, I may have to touch these up with silver, but look at that. Really pretty coaster, straight up, focusing on teal or aqua as the colour. Okay, so let's start with this one. Do you know what I may do? I'm going to pour my base paint into a cup as well. Just so it's easier to administer. And let's get this spread out to the edges. And when I say you don't need much on here at all, you really, really do not need much. It's just enough to form that thin coating over the top of the tile and make sure that there's actually paint touching everywhere. Okay. Now you can vary where you're putting certain colors as well, like if you don't want to put one color in one certain part, you can make it more visible or less visible. So let's blow this out. Beautiful. You can give it a little bit of a spin if you feel like it. And I just feel like using my spinner makes things much easier because I can get around and scrape up all the excess paint. Lovely. And because this paint is much thinner than my Bloom paints, you do want to be really careful with it because you want to make sure that it is drying perfectly level, otherwise your designs can shift. They can still do that with Blooms, but because the paint is much thicker, you've got less risk of that happening. Just letting that spin around and come back in and coat the sides. After that, just wipe it off. Drop a little bit of paint there. And I'm going to torch first this time to pop those bubbles. And this time I will use my little blower just to show you the difference. And I've got a little attachment on mine. I don't like what the little blower does to Dutch pours on these. It just doesn't get the same blowout celly effect as when you use your mouth. Of course, you can go in and create those cells manually with a torch, but I do like the organic look that you get from a mouth blow. So yeah, these should dry nice and sparkly and shiny because of those TLPs. And in this case, we've only got one sparkly TLP in there, but we've got the Psych as well. So these will have the added benefit of being glow in the dark as well, because that Psych is a neon piggy and it is black light reactive. So if you turn on a black light anywhere near it, you'll see this most vibrant neon turquoise color. And it's the first neon turquoise that I've ever seen, which is amazing. Okay. Pop in some bubbles first. The trick with Dutch pours is you don't want to leave too much paint on there so that things can shift and move as it dries. You want just enough to make your design, and that's it. Okay. Lovely. Again, just coating the sides and edges, making sure they are covered. And I may, again, need to paint these with silver or something once they are dry, just to make sure the edges are covered. But that's a set of 4 done already. So I always like to do a set of 6 and just have 2 spare. So that way I can pick the best 4 of the bunch in case something goes wrong, in case one doesn't dry correctly. So I'm going to do 2 more of this color palette, and then I'll do 2 more of the other. Now, you do have to be careful when you're doing this, especially if you're working on a white base, that your swipe tool is clean in between swipes, because if you're working on white, you will see it in the color, especially if you're changing colors in between. Just a little bit of paint missing from there. I'm just going to give it a slow spin to even out. There we go. Lovely. Pop some bubbles. Just drop my Psych all over the bench. This one's a really pretty one. Oh, there is a big blob of something yuck right there. I don't think that paint fully dissolved. But we got that off. Let's try and spin it to even things out. And hopefully that doesn't cause any problems for us while it dries, but we did manage to get that. Break up some of those cells. And there we go. So these are really pretty. That dark blue with the turquoise always looks very nice. So I'm just going to pop these to the back so they are not in my way while I'm working with the next colours and I don't contaminate anything. Now I'm going to grab some paper towel so I can wipe down my swipe tool. Make sure I'm not getting any blue on the next lot of coasters that come on. Because we are now doing red, actually, I'm going to do the white and the nude first, seeing as I'm working with a white base, and I'll do the black last. It seems like a much more intelligent option. Okay, so for our nude colours, I actually think I'm going to include Simplicity in this as well. Just because I think it's going to go really, really nicely. So let's put down some Simplicity first, followed by Ballet Slipper. No, that was Latte. This is Ballet Slipper. Ballet Slipper and Latte look very similar, but Ballet Slipper is a little more pink. This is a much softer, gentler colour scheme, but definitely no less pretty. It's absolutely gorgeous, and you can only see certain bits and pieces once this is wet. Once it's dry, it's going to look so much better. Very, very pretty. So Simplicity, Ballet Slipper, and Latte. Gorgeous. Okay, let's do the same order. Let's go with Simplicity first, then so we're doing Simplicity first, then this one was Ballet Slipper, and then Latte. Just going to restart the cameras. Great. And that's looking wonderful. Such a pretty and simple color combination. And when this dries, the simplicity will look almost silver compared to the pure white of the background. Okay, now bubbles in these paints I don't worry about too much because they are so thin. When it dries, they will dry almost invisible, but it's always good to pop them beforehand just in case they do cause any problems. So these ones are ready. I'm going to pop these onto my drying rack. And it is quite warm here in Sydney at the moment, so these should be dried by tomorrow. I'll grab out my next tray and go again. Okay, so those are some beautiful coasters on there. And now we are ready to do the last lot. And the last lot of coasters I am doing on a black base. So I'm going to put my white back in the bottle, because I don't need that any longer. Okay, lid on. And for this one, I'm going to use a black base that I've got mixed up here. And this is mixed up with, this is Chroma Acryl white, black, mixed with some This Little Piggy Velvet, I believe. So I'm just going to give this a stir to get that colour redispersed. And this is just going to give a little bit of an extra shine to the base. Now, the reason I waited until the very end to do the black should be self-explanatory, so that it doesn't mix with all of my other colours. We don't want that. I'm just making sure that my stir sticks are cleaned before I set them aside, so that they don't stick to anything. Okay, got my red, got my black. And I should say, with this Grenache mixture, it is Grenache mixed with maraschino. So it's not just Grenache by itself, it's Grenache and maraschino, both This Little Piggy pigments, and both very, very sparkly. So let's get the tile up here. Oh, I've already got a tile on there. Getting ahead of myself. Okay, so a little bit of black to get us started. And I am going to get a different scrape cup for this, because everything goes into black, not everything goes into white. I'll just use the black stir stick here to spread everything on. I really like working with black because you can see a lot better where you're covering. It also makes your pigments sparkle way better than anything over white, because it's got something for that light to bounce off and reflect. Okay, so our black's ready to go. Let's give it a torch. This one doesn't have as many bubbles because I didn't give it a good vigorous shake. And we're just doing red and white on this. So let's get the red on there first. And again, you really don't need much paint for this technique. For Dutch pours, they're really, really cost effective. Oh, and I should add, with the TLP Simplicity, I did add a tiny bit of Matisse iridescent white. But look how beautiful this is. Just red and white. And I think I want to zigzag them so that the red's on top on one side and the white's on top on another. But this is just gorgeous. Look at that. So I'll do a close-up of these once they are dry, so you can see them a lot better. Because when they're wet, you don't really get a true representation of their colours. Now that I've used my swipe tool for black, I'm going to push that around. There's still a little bit of white on here, which is not good. You never ever want to mix black and white together. You're going to get a really ugly smear look, and I love that pure black. Okay. And it's only because I didn't wipe down my turntable before I started using the black. That's why everything is coming up on there. Okay, so let's try the white first. I'm going to go off to one side up the top here. Because I kind of want the red to be the primary focus. Yes, look at that. Oh my god, that's beautiful. Okay, so trying to put them side by side rather than on top of each other is definitely going to be better. Just blowing off some of the extra black where I can. I should have scraped this one a little bit better, but that's much more what I was after. Loving that. Alright, so that is all of the coasters done. I can't wait to see how these dry. Now, because it is quite warm here, these should be dry within a day or two. So I'm going to check back in tomorrow, see how they're going. And if there's anything that I need to touch up, I'll still have plenty of time to touch them up and get them ready before Christmas. So that's going to be it for the rest of this video. If you like what I'm doing here, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.